So Yankees-Angels was supposed to be a 4-game series, but luckily it was only 3. I think they rained out today. I mean, it was supposed to rain this afternoon, but I don't know if it. I don't think it did. I think they could have played, but save the further embarrassment. That was probably the highlight of this week was seeing that game was going to be rained out. So there was a lot of talk this week. We heard from Aaron Boone before the Angels series, coming off the embarrassing sweep against the Red Sox, saying, the season's on the line. Brian Cashman saying we suck, among other things. And even Hal Steinbrenner basically, putting the blame on the players, which is true. But for anyone that wants any type of in-season changes, that definitely is not coming. And, yeah, like I said, do I think that Aaron Boone could easily be fired at the end of the season? Yes, but Brian Cashman's the key here. That's the key person who needs to be fired, and I just don't see it unless things go really, really south. This series would qualify as, something close to that. And Aroldis Chapman, I'm done with him. Done. And I know fans of other teams who may hear this think, oh, come on, it's Aroldis Chapman, this and that. Too much of a head case, just a lot of baggage there. Just not worth it. You're not going to win with. I mean, the Yankees have a lot of problems, and he's one of them. You're not going to win with him. It's just the way it is. He was unbelievable the first month of the season. He's been a complete piece of shit the last 2 months. Total bum. I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be some phantom IL situation going on here. Shoulder soreness or something. Seriously, he needs to be gone for a bit. And I think it's very fair to question or say that he should be, if they don't do that, that he should be demoted from the closest role immediately. I'm not think anyone necessarily. I think it's split in terms of what people believe for that, but I don't trust him. And there's other capable arms in that pen. In 2017, if you remember, he did lose his job for a bit. He did, and then he got better. So I think that he could certainly use a break. So that's a major issue. Their ineffectiveness of running the scoring position is always a problem. The offense wasn't so much to blame this series, although in Game 1 it wasn't very, very good at all. And then also of note, the Yankees have traded for Tim Locastro, who's an outfielder from the Diamondbacks. The Yankees traded away a pitcher, an older someone who's in the minor league system, who's actually not that young. I think he's in the AA ranks, and he's in his mid-20s or so. Keegan Curtis, I believe, is his name. And the Yankees traded for Tim Locastro, who is a right-handed hitter, speed guy, really fast, defense. Not a great hitter. He kind of fits right in, batting 178. He actually was Yankee property for 3 months. It was the offseason in between the 2018 and 2019 season. The Yankees actually traded him to the Diamondbacks. I believe what happened was he was on the Dodgers. He was then traded to the Yankees, and the Yankees traded to the Diamondbacks. So, it's not saying that I think most Yankee fans would know, but it's interesting. Tim Locastro was actually designated for assignment by the Yankees when they signed DJ LeMahieu originally, back before 2019 season. So, in terms of corresponding moves, Clint Frazier left the last game of this series complaining about dizziness. So he's had a concussion history. Something to look for in terms of Locastro's because Locastro is going to be on the major league roster, and maybe Frazier is the spot that he takes. We'll find out about that, within the next day. And also, this fourth game of the supposed fourth game of the Yankee-Angels series has been moved to August 16th. So I'm going to treat this, even though I guess the series isn't technically over, we're going to treat this as a best of 3, and the Yankees lose the series. So we'll see what happens with a singular game, about a month and a half from now. So Game 1, something that there was a lot of things that I have never seen that I saw this series. This was a very unique series, and one of them is kind of disgusting. Dylan Bundy puking his brains out on the mound. And he was on his way to a really terrible night, but of course he gets sick on the mound, comes out of the game, and the Yankees can't touch the vaunted Angel bullpen, air quotes, as even though Suarez, who came in, has been much better than Bundy, and Joe Madden actually after the series made the switch. So Suarez is now in the rotation, Bundy to the pen. So, and then Michael King was on the mound for the Yankees. Michael King, they need an opener for Michael King. Michael King has been horrible in first innings, just absolutely dreadful. So I don't know who that would be, but if you're going to have King pitch, the plan being 4 or 5 innings, I would have someone else pitch the first, depending on the matchup. He just is really bad, and then he kind of settles down and does all right. But what's perplexing to me is why they would even bother facing Shohei Ohtani. The guy, I mean, we'll talk about his pitching, which was not great, but hitting, the guy is an absolute star, superstar, and they don't have Mike Trout in their lineup. Don't face Shohei Ohtani if you don't have to. And in the first inning against Michael King, no shock, Ohtani homers. And I believe this would be his first of 3 homers in this series. And really, he only essentially played 2 games because you'll see what ends up happening in that third game, but just really impressive stuff from him. And King almost walked Ohtani. I wish he had in hindsight. And then he would walk Anthony Rendon, and Jared Walsh, who had a really good series, would get an RBI double to give the Angels a 2-0 lead. Yankees would fight back in the first against Bundy, LeMahieu single, Judge double, and the inning could have been a lot more. Gary Sanchez gets an RBI ground out, but that's all it would be is Giancarlo Stanton flies out and Voit flies out, so it's only 2-1. You would have hoped that they could have tied it up there. And then in the bottom of the second, with 1 out, Gio Urshela hits a home run, ties it up at 2. Then Andujar singles, infield single. Then Gardner grounds out and Andujar moves to second. And then DJ LeMahieu comes to the plate. It was really hot at Yankee Stadium all series long, extremely hot. And Bundy just, gets ill, I guess. Sick on the mound. Really never seen anything like that before. And so he would be taken out of the game for Jose Suarez, and then he would do a really good job of completely shutting the Yankees down. So, also, as in the third, Stanton double play. This team just hits a lot of double plays. That's not going to change. But, King settles down as well. And then in the fifth is when the DJ LeMahieu fielding issues become a major problem. So LeMahieu, who is really turning it around at the plate for the most part, he really is. It's been good. I mean, there's been a lot of guys who, LeMahieu's one of them, certainly Sanchez, even Brett Gardner come to mind as guys that have definitely turned things around at the plate to a degree. But LeMahieu in the field, really bad game. And it would start where King gives up a double to Rendon. They bring in Lucas Licky, and Jared Walsh hits an easy ground ball to LeMahieu, and he just boots it. So first and third, 1 out. And then Max Stassi hits the ball to LeMahieu. Could have been a double play ball. This one I'm a little bit less harsh on him about. It was a tough hop. Would have been nice if he could have made up for his mistake the at-bat before. But they get the 1 out at second, and Stassi saved it first, so the run scores. So the Angels take a 3-2 lead. Then in the top of the 6th, and it's been, Licky, this was a tough series for Lucas Licky, who had been extremely good up until this point. This was a rough one. So Licky gives up a leadoff single to Iglesias, but then they get a double play of Rengifo. Actually, it was a fly-out double play. Bad base running by Iglesias. So it's 2 outs, no one on. And former Met Juan Lagares hits a home run to the opposite field. So gives the Angels a 4-2 lead. But and Chad Green would come on to get the last out of that inning. In the bottom of the 6th, 2 outs going on, and Giancarlo Stanton gets a solo shot and cuts the lead to 4-3, but that would be it. I mean, that would really be it. Clint Frazier would pinch hit for Brett Gardner in the 7th with a runner on first, and he would strike out. Frazier, it's just been mostly bad this year for Clint in the field, at the plate, and in the field, it's a segue. Because top of the 8th, Schebler gets a leadoff single off of Green. Yeah, off of Green. And then Iglesias doubles, and Frazier takes it was a no-doubt hit. It's not that, but, Frazier takes a bit of a weird, slow route to the ball. But he throws to LeMahieu, and he's got Schebler out at home, but LeMahieu airmails it. There would be no error on the play, but just a really bad throw by LeMahieu. continuing an awful night in the field, and just the bad play of the Yankees continues here. And so that makes it 5-3. Green actually would get the next 3 outs and strand that runner on third. On that double and the guy scored, Iglesias would move to third, but Green does the job. But Cishek comes in, gets a 1-2-3. Nestor Cortez actually pitches at the top of the ninth. He pitches a 1-2-3, and then Raisel Iglesias strikes out the side. Stanton, Voit, Glaber, and that's it. Angels win at 5-3. So not much more to say. The badness continues, but game 2, Yanks would turn it around, and especially at the plate. The offense would come alive. So this would be Andrew Heaney, who got roughed up against Jameson Taillon, who did not pitch very well. Gave him a bit of length, but luckily Taillon got run support because he didn't pitch super well at all. And in this one, of note, Clint Frazier would not, against the lefty, you think, maybe they go with the righty lineup, Judge in center. Clint Frazier would not play in this game. So, Andujar really taking that job, and he would have a big night in this one. And, Gardner's play has been getting better. So Clint on the bench, and now he's got this dizziness thing. So it's not looking great for Clint in more ways than one. So Yanks would take the rare lead. We don't see that too often, but they do, as Gary Sanchez goes oppo. 14th homer of the year for Sanchez. He's just been it was an excellent month of June for Gary Sanchez. And that makes it 1-0 early. But Angels come right back as Stassi singles, and then advances to second on an error by Andujar. He's had some, rough. He's an infielder by trade, and he's had some rough plays out and left. Makes an error, runner on second. Rengifo grounds out, runner moves over. None of that really matters. As Jose Iglesias, who had a really good series, been saying that, gets a 2-run homer, makes it 2-1. So Taillon gets the run, gives it right back. And so in the bottom of the second, the Yankees would fight back against Heaney. 1-out walk for Urshela, then Andujar singles, and then a sac fly by Gardner. Believe it or not, his 4th on the season. And a lot of these aren't necessarily the prettiest, but he's not getting hits running the scoring position, Gardner, but he has had some sac flies. That's one of them. Then DJ LeMahieu, RBI single. When DJ's going right, he's thinking right field. And we've been seeing that more lately. So DJ makes it 3-2. And then Aaron Judge, dead center field, 2-run homer, makes it 5-2 Yankees. But in the top of the third, there's that guy again, Shohei Ohtani. Homers off of Taillon, makes it 5-3. So, Taillon struggling. But then in the bottom of the fourth, the Yankees would break it wide open, which is what they didn't do. I mean, they kind of did, but they didn't in the last game. But in the bottom of the fourth, Andujar, opposite field, leading home run to lead off the fourth, makes it 6-3. Then Gardner walks and they take out Heaney. James Hoyt comes in, gets a couple of outs, but then Gary Sanchez gets an RBI double, makes it 7-3. Stan would walk, and then Luke Voit gets an RBI double, makes it 8-3, and then the struggling Glaber Torres gets a 2-run single, makes it 10-3. So good to see from Glaber. I still don't like what I see from him. Even his hits are soft, but look, you'll take it any way you can get it. But I don't know with him. His exit velocity is really low. Things just don't seem right there. But this was a good night for Glaber. So that makes it 10-3, but then Shohei Ohtani, after a single by Fletcher in the 5th, 2-run homer. So 3 home runs already in the series for Ohtani at this point, 10-5. And yeah, Taillon would pitch into the 6th, and Nestor Cortez would pitch on back-to-back nights, actually. And he's been really good. I mean, Cortez, like I said, it's going to stop at some point, but until it does, keep on riding him because he's been pitching really well. So Yanks would score in the bottom of the 6th, a combination off of Jose Quintana and Junior Guerra, as it was a 2-out single by Torres, then Gio singles, then Andujar gets an RBI double, makes it 11-5. And from there, Cortez pitches a good 7th. And then Albert Abreu pitches a couple of scoreless innings in the 8th and 9th. So Albert Abreu would be sent down after this game as Darren O'Day and Justin Wilson return, and they would actually pitch in the last game of the series. So Krisky had been gone, Abreu now gone. But, Abreu, it's been better for Albert Abreu. I think he's going to be that first guy up, whereas, it won't be Nick Nelson, who's really struggled. Even Davey Garcia has struggled in the minors. So Albert Abreu has actually shown to be not so bad. So would expect to see him soon. But yeah, Yankees won 11-5. Really good nights from, Sanchez, Andujar, Torres, and Judge hit that 2-run homer. So an offensive explosion. And that would continue into the last game. But wow, this ends up being the worst game of the season. There's been some really bad losses this year. This one tops it by far. So it's Shohei Ohtani against Domingo Germán. And what was interesting was no Judge, no Urshela, which had fans very upset, and deservedly so. What's also messed up is they knew that the forecast for the next day wasn't going to be good and ended up being postponed. So, I think that they were intrigued by the idea of giving Judge and Gio 2 days off. I think they almost used, instead of thinking, well, it might rain the next day, or even if it doesn't, we'll give them the day off. They don't. And that doesn't really come into play here. They end up scoring a good amount of runs. So it wasn't so much a Judge or Gio thing, but just season's on the line, Boone claims. And, we're hearing from Cashman, Steinbrenner, State of the Union, all that. And, you don't play. I know Judge has played a lot lately. I know Gio's banged up, but it's interesting at the very least. So Odora would play, and Clint Frazier would be in the lineup as well, at least to start the game. And then Domingo Germán, the struggles continue. Germán's been terrible. Germán's been absolutely awful. Seriously, there's nothing you can do about it, really, because we're thin on options at this point. But Germán has been, where he was really good for a time, he's been just as bad since. So can't trust him at all. So, yeah, right away in the first, Germán would give up a 2-run homer to Phil Gosselin. So 1-out walk to Rendon, then a 2-out homer to Gosselin, 2-0 Angels right away. And against Ohtani, this could be not so good. But little would we know, Shohei Ohtani would not make it out of the first inning. LeMahieu walk, Voit walk, Sanchez walk, RBI singles Stanton, RBI single Torres, Odor strikes out, RBI grounded Andujar, Frazier hit by a pitch, Gardner walks, and that would be all for Ohtani. So it's 4-2 at this point, bases loaded, 2 out, and they bring in Aaron Slegers to face LeMahieu, who would get a 3-run double down the right field line, makes it 7-2. So couldn't have been better for the Yankees at this point. Ohtani's out of the game, and not only out of the game, but he was batting first as in the pitcher's spot, and they took him out as well. So maybe they could have moved him to the outfield, or done something, and they decided we're done. So should win this game, right? Nope. So second inning rolls around, and Germán continues to get in trouble as Juan Lagares gets an RBI double, and it could have been worse than that. I'm not going to go into each batter. It could have been worse. He only gives up a run. And then the Yankees stranding runners, it begins as soon as the bottom of the second. So Alex Claudio comes in, and Sanchez singles, Stanton singles, Glaber flies out, and it gets Sanchez over to third. Odor walks, bases loaded. And Miguel Andujar, who has had good moments, who I like, doesn't, he grounds a double play, and it was fairly predictable. Bases loaded, 1 out, double play. But all right, it's still 7-3. You can live with it at the time, but it would come back to bite. At this point, Clint Frazier would be out of the game in the top of the third. Tyler Wade replaces him. Dizziness for Frazier. We'll see what comes of it tomorrow. And Germán would escape a really rough third. And then in the bottom of the third, Wade leadoff single, Gardner walk. They bring in Bundy, who had just pitched that first game, to ironically face LeMahieu, that's when he got sick. And he strikes out LeMahieu with first and second. And then there's a pass ball during the Void at bat. So second and third, 1 out, and then there's a rain delay. There would be 2 rain delays in this game. This is what makes this game beyond frustrating. 2 rain delays. This would be one of them. So Germán might not have even come out for the fourth anyway. He may have. He was at 70 pitches struggling, so it didn't affect the Yanks too much. And this rain delay wasn't that long. They come out of it. It's second and third, 1 out, and Voit strikes out. And then Sanchez gets robbed by Anthony Rendon. It was going to be a 2-run double down the line. Rendon makes the play, and so they don't score again. Stays at 7-3. Justin Wilson comes on and actually pitched a good fourth. 1-2-3. His first outing in a while. And so, yeah. And then in the top of the fifth, Luis Sessa comes on. Jared Walsh homers to start that inning. but then Sessa wouldn't give anything from there. So it's an official game, and now another rain delay. So as a Yankee fan, you're hoping, please, rain, keep on raining. It would stop. It would stop. So 7-4, this was a longer rain delay. They come back out. And Tony Watson replaces Bundy. So the Angels were not in a good situation, pitch wise. They weren't. But it would be a double play, as with Gardner gets a single with one out, and then LeMahieu hits a double play back to the pitcher. Darren O'Day comes in for the sixth, and he pitches a 1-2-3. So his first outing, and it's 7-4 still. Bottom of the sixth, it's another double play. As with one out, Sanchez walks, Stanton walks, and then Cishek comes in for Tony Watson, and it is a double play for Gleyber Torres. So another double play for the Yanks. And then Jonathan Loaisiga comes in the seventh and the eighth, pitches a 1-2-3. He has been, again, one of their best pitchers. And in between that, another double play for the Yankees, as Tyler Wade, this time, with one out and a runner on first, double play to the pitcher. So bottom of the eighth, the Yankees even get an insurance run. They get an extra run to make it an 8-4 game. Brett Gardner off of another pitcher for the Angels, Mike Mayers, who replaced Cishek. So that makes it 8-4. We go to the ninth, and at this point, your options are go to Jonathan Loaisiga for a third inning, which you don't normally see, but he was only at 19 pitches. You could have, but I'm not surprised they didn't. Or Lucas Licky or Chad Green or Aroldis Chapman. So I was kind of hoping, and it's sad because Chapman's the closer, but with a 4-run game, you usually don't see Chapman, but he hadn't pitched in a while, and he was warming up, so it made sense that they went there. And Chad Green had pitched a lot in that first game, and so did Licky, but more Green. I'm assuming Green wasn't available, but that never was asked. But Chapman comes in, and 8-4 game, 1 in the morning, mind you. There was these poor fans that stayed for the whole way through these 2 rain delays. And anyway, leadoff walk to Taylor Ward. He gets Lagares to ground out. Then he walks Max Stassi. Then he walks Anthony Rendon. He had no control at all, Chapman. And, I think it's fair to wonder, not for cheating reasons, but for the sticky substances, just for the grip. Could that be part of the reason why Chapman's terrible? Pure speculation. But, and again, we've seen Chapman do this type of shit before, so it might not have anything to do with that. But then the dagger. Bases loaded, grand slam. Jared Walsh ties it up 8-8. And at this point, it's like, yep, that's just how this season is. Just devastating. After the 7 runs off Ohtani in the first, the Angels would score 7 themselves in the ninth. Just unbelievable. As Lucas Licky would come in for Chapman, and Licky, like I said, struggled that first game a little bit, would struggle even more in this one. He would throw 5 straight balls. Leadoff walk to Gosselin, then David Fletcher gets a single, and so it's first and third with 1 out, and then Iglesias strikes out. So, all right, first and third, 2 out. Fletcher would steal, so it's second and third, 2 out. And he's ahead of Luis Rengifo, but eventually Rengifo, who's like a 130 hitter, gets a 2-run single, gives the Angels a 10-8 lead. Then Taylor Ward would get an RBI double, makes it 11-8. And then Raisel Iglesias comes on, pitches a 1-2-3 ninth. So 11-8 Angels is the final. Yankees lose the series, as it turns out, because there would be that postponement in the last game. The struggles continue. It's really bad. And now the Mets come to town. And, this is a struggling Met. It's interestingly enough, this is a struggling Met team coming in, and the Yankees, luckily avoid DeGrom. So the pitching matchups look like they will be. And again, rain is in the forecast for these games as well. So keep that in mind. But it's looking like it'll be Taijuan Walker versus Jordan Montgomery, Marcus Stroman versus Garrett Cole. We know those for sure. And in the last game, they haven't announced, but I would have to guess it would be McGill for the Mets, probably. Who's pitched pretty well and pitched Tuesday for them, and then probably Michael King for the Yankees. I would think. So Sunday Night Baseball, certainly the more prime pitching matchups are games 1 and 2, especially 2. Stroman, Cole definitely being the most marquee, but no DeGrom. But if you're the Yankees, certainly you do pull against the Mets. That'll even be bigger in terms of the media and the press. But these are 2 teams that are struggling right now, so this will be interesting. And that's, the Mets are a little bit of a better situation in terms of their weak division. Whereas the Yankees don't really have that to fall back on. So we'll see what happens. Should be an interesting series. And yep, the really rough 2021 season for the Yankees only gets worse.